Despite the chaos of Mid-Ohio last week, our two championship leaders, Hugh Haycox and Yuko Leskala, came home with commanding wins, further setting the cement that is their championship dreams. As we roll into the French countryside, will the longest draft track on the Camel calendar and our second ever lap count race give our other competitors a better chance at dethroning our dominant drivers? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 8 of the iRacing Camel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Lindgren, and with me in the booth is Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. The Circuit to 24-Hour Le Mans has a very long pedigree in racing, and to find out what makes this place so special, let's take you down to our track guide.
Welcome to Le Mans. When you talk about legendary circuits, this is a place that stands among the most famous in the world. Part permanent road course, part temporary street circuit, it traipses through the countryside just south of the city where it gets its namesake. Its size matches its reputation as well, clocking it at 8.5 miles, which equates to roughly 13.5 kilometers. However, when you take into account that it's split by only 33 turns, the frighteningly fast nature of this circuit becomes clear. Most of the corners have been added over the century of history it's experienced, but many have become renowned and respected. The two turns at the opposite ends of the massively long Mulsanne Straight play equally important roles. Tertre Rouge requires a great exit in order to not lose massive amounts of time, while Mulsanne Corner takes bravery and precision in order to brake as late as possible and keep opponents from passing you on the way in. There's also hair-raising moments like the tricky entry to Indianapolis, or the close walls along the bridge section in the Porsche curves. To win here, drivers will need a very low downforce setup, a good sense of strategy, and heaps of bravery. The 24 Hours of Le Mans is the crown jewel of endurance racing, which many drivers dream of someday winning and many fans flock to witness in person. Once you've driven the track here on iRacing, it's easy to see why.
An absolutely beautiful track out here in the French countryside. And Joey, this place is legendary for many reasons. And why don't you tell us about this specific layout and how these cars are going to handle it?
Well, this is the old classic layout, which means we are going to see top speeds from all cars, GTP and GTO, going down the Mulsanne straightaway. No chicanes today. And honestly, if you ask me, this is the type of track that I really get excited about. Very, very fast. They still have to get it slowed down through Indianapolis and then through the final technical section, through the Ford chicane, Corvette curves and whatnot. But as you see here, just a tick under 8.5 miles today. 31 turns, but Adam, the key is going to be the top speed and hanging in that draft.
Yeah, it definitely is, and the GTOs can get just as fast as the GTPs on the straights on this track, so it's going to be very interesting. But let's take you down and talk about our points. Hugh Haycox is joining us today, and he has a 40-point lead over Aaron Humphrey in the GTP class. It's only 3 points between himself and Matthias Hovdal for the GTP second position, and that's tied between Hovdal and Jungbluth, with Antti Lepisto only 1 point back. So behind Hugh Haycox in the lead, it is very tight for the top 5, and quite frankly, for the top 10. The top 10 are only separated by 22 points, so it's anyone's chance to take the GTP standings from second on down. Joey, what do you got for the GTOs today?
Well, Yuko Leskala out front, no surprise there in the GTO points. Currently 150 points. Next closest competitor, Javier Del Olmo. Now, if memory serves me correct, though, Leskala did not win the last round, and I don't see him on the timing and scoring sheet today, so that's not going to be good for his points haul. But like you see here, Javier Del Olmo, second place. Esko Leighton-Yaimi also right there, only a couple points behind Javier. Doug Cloud there in fourth place. Ian Haycox right there in fifth place. And only a couple more points separate Topi, Kurt Crum, and Jamie Hummel-Smith there, all inside the top 10 for the GTOs.
Now, today's race details are a little different. It's round 8 of 12. Look at this, 11 laps here for these drivers today. Well, not for all the drivers. That's for the GTPs. The GTOs probably will get in about 8. It's open setups, so they can set up the car however they like or dislike, depending on their preference. They have no spare car, though, so they have to race the car that they have throughout. You get a drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and a disqualification at 25, but around Le Mans, it's hard to pick those up without falling afoul of the barriers on the side of the course. So we likely will not see too many of those unless we see some more incidents. But qualifying has begun for these drivers, and it's a tight time schedule. Only 8 minutes of qualifying for this round, and that means you're hard pressed to get going and to get back to the start-finish line to start your lap. You're probably only going to get one.
Well, yes, you hit the nail on the head there that if you don't get going as soon as drops in qualifying, you could be sacrificing the amount of laps you can put in just because of how long the circuit is. Important to just immediately get out on the track and get up to speed.
Yeah, we're just about 2.5 minutes into qualifying, and the GTPs are just coming through, just entering the last third of the course. Currently led by Hugh Haycox, our points championship leader. Topi Kortaniemi now coming through the exit of the Indianapolis section. Hugh Haycox now exiting onto the last straight before we get to the sweeping curves that end the lap here at Le Mans. And these GTPs definitely in a good position to sweep through these corners with ease.
As you see here on screen, Hugh Haycox going through this section that you need a little bit of downforce on these cars, but throughout the rest of the racetrack, you don't want any downforce. So it is definitely a battle between man and machine and what you can get out of the setup and how low you can set that wing.
Absolutely. So as you can see, Hugh Haycox coming through very cleanly. 4 minutes 30 left on the clock as they start. Well, Hugh hasn't even started his lap yet. So crossing the line just about now. Hugh Haycox will start his first lap here with 4:16 left on the clock. His last lap, his out lap was a 3:12, so he should get 2 laps in, but the GTOs might not be as lucky.
Well, and that's kind of what I'm got my eye on right now, Adam, is that we're working halfway through qualifying, and these GTOs, the lead GTOs, are still have yet to start their first qualifying lap, so it'll be interesting to see how that timing and scoring sheet works this out.
Yeah, absolutely. Javier Del Olmo is the first of our GTOs on screen now with 4:45 left to go. Current lap of 3:34. So let's see. Yeah, it's going to overlap. He's not going to get a second lap. So the GTOs will have 1 lap to complete their qualifying.
And yeah, and you'll have to refresh me. I believe these cars do get to finish their qualifying lap, because if they don't get to finish that lap, a lot of these competitors could definitely be in trouble for even just putting a lap time down.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, I believe they went with the 24-hour qualifying setup, because it looks like the drivers are putting in laps. They did actually get to start before the final chicanes, and so that allowed them to get a lap in their first time around the track. So move all of that into a second and a second lap for the GTOs and a third lap for the GTPs, and that's actually crucial, because that first lap for both of these cars is going to be on very cold tires.
Well, thank you for reminding me to hit the update here on the timing and scoring, and yes, you are right. We are seeing times roll in. Hugh Haycox provisional pole up there in GTP, and down in GTO, Javier Del Olmo provisional pole.
And interestingly enough, we do have Caroline Boafia here. Caroline Boafia is one of the highest ranked, or at least was one of the highest ranked drivers in the GTO class. Currently, car number 34. So something happened to his iRating recently. But Caroline, he is very quick, but did not set a first lap time. So his second lap will be the only one he gets.
Well, and what we saw out of Javier, he crossed the line very close to that timer of being able to complete another lap. We'll see if some of these cars even get to complete lap number 2 for the GTOs.
Absolutely, riding on board with Caroline now, going down the long straight towards, for Caroline, it's towards Indianapolis here. And this corner is very challenging in all cars, but especially the GTOs, which are notorious for their understeer.
Well, and you want that minimum wing angle, and you're going so fast, and you got to get it slowed down so much through that left-hander. You really have to dance the car on the brakes and manage the rotation.
Absolutely. So Caroline clearly and easily through Indianapolis, but our leader, Hugh Haycox, our current pole position sitter, is just now going through the final chicanes at the end of his second lap, currently just about a quarter of a second ahead of Topi Cortinimi. A little slide, and he's going to park it. He doesn't want that second lap represented.
Yeah, and I wonder if he cut the chicane too much and had a little bit of a slowdown. Better to just stop it than get that black flag out there. And looks like the majority of the field is going to be coming through and setting their second lap times.
Absolutely. So second lap times is starting to be set, and it looks like Caroline Buafia is still out there driving, coming through the final corners now. This is Timothy Reed, currently in 5th position, slides it through the final corner as well. A lot of these GTP drivers getting hot rear tires on their second qualifying laps. Caroline Buafia, though, coming through the final couple of corners, going to try and set a qualifying time. Has the potential possibly to get pole if he can make a clean lap. Crosses the line with a 3:43 flat, and that will put him on pole position.
By quite a bit, and Javier Del Olmo on your screen right now is actually on a very fast lap, about 8 or 9 tenths faster than his previous. I don't think it's going to be close enough to Buafia, but we'll see what Del Olmo can lay down. But look at the timer. I'm not sure if he's going to get there, and no, he doesn't.
Heartbreaking into the final 2 corners and couldn't get it done. But that will take us to our grid here with Hugh Haycox on pole, Topi Cortinami in second position. Alex Ott's going to line up in third on row 2 with Antti Lopiso next to him. We got Matthew Redford starting off in 5th with Timothy Reed in 6th. Ardo Iamaki is going to start off in 7th with Togo Hisada in 8th position. Matthias Habdahl in 9th with Ove Trengrade rounding out the top 10. Then we've got Kimmo Viliakainen, who's going to start off in the 11th position, his first camel race today, with Aitor Sitis Galindo starting off in 12th. Aaron Humphreys in 13th with Seamus Power in 14th, with Timo Toika starting off in the 15th position. Fabian Newbluth alongside him in row 8 with Laus Olsen starting off row 9 next to Martin Kraytrick. Clayton McLeod and Javier Mascara are going to round out the top 20, and all of our drivers who set qualifying times, Timothy Vaughn, the only driver who didn't, will round out the 21-car GTP field.
And over in GTOs, your pole sitter Caroline Buafia in the number 34. Next to him is going to be Javier Del Olmo in the number 4 car, Ian Haycox in the 3rd place position, Doug Cloud 4th, Jamie Hummel-Smith inside the top 5 there. Marty Oli in the 6th place position, Arasmus Zelinskis there, 7th, Arturas Kundalis 8th, Philip Savoy 9th place, Cam Porter back in the 10th spot, Thomas Sibus there in 11th, Daniel Repetto 12th, Mark Ole, Jim McGill, Jack David Spickett, and Carlos Fonseca round out the 16-car GTO field.
Interestingly enough, a lot of drivers in chat right now talking about whether they're going to start single file or double file. Really hard to start double file here, but take a look at the temperatures. 82 degrees air temperature, that's 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Track temperature, that's 28 Celsius and 30 Celsius respectively. And look at the wind, 8 miles per hour out of the north-northwest. That could cause a little bit of issues, but our iRacing pace car driver is pulling away from the line, and that's going to start off our pacing here. Just entering the Porsche curves, the pace car.
Just a very short pace lap here for these competitors. Not a whole lot of time to get things set, and things are going to get moving pretty quick, but you got to make it through these first couple turns, and then it's most important to get that launch out onto the Mulsanne straightaway.
Absolutely. Getting through those first couple of corners is always important. As you said, we see a lot of drivers fall afoul of the first couple of chicanes, but if you can get through that first sector and get on to the Mulsanne straight, at that point, that's when your race is really started, because that's when the tires will start to heat up for these drivers coming through the Porsche curves now.
And Adam, you're right. Looking back at the GTO field, looks like they are going to go single file for the start, and I don't blame them with how tight that final chicane is.
Absolutely. Taking a look at our GTOs, they have gone single file. This is one of the great things about this Camel GT community is they really just, and the GTPs are doing the same thing now at the front of the field. Hugh Haycox and the rest of the GTP field starting to string out single file. So I think everyone just wants to make it through the start of this race without any contact. So this is definitely going to make things interesting, because it should give everyone a better chance to make it to the Mulsanne straight clean.
Well, and the other thing is, I think a zipper is probably the best way, so you can still identify left and right side, but you're still leaving the gap front to back. And like I said, I don't blame them. It looks like safety cars pulling off.
Porsche safety car into the pit lane. Hugh Haycox will lead them to the line with his new white paint scheme for this season. Running a big fluffy man on the front. The tricolor has flown over, leaving the wonderful paint schemes, and Hugh Haycox off to the races. Gets a nice jump over Topi Cortiniemi. Alex Ott also starting to fall a little bit behind. The GTPs being very cautious at the beginning of this race. Pretty much everybody making it through the final corner. Very clean, very safe. Hugh Haycox into turns 1 and 2, clean and well. Let's go to the GTOs.
Really good GTO start. I see Zelinskis took advantage, got a little bit of a jump further back, and you see him lined up nose to tail from about 5th place through 15th as they all head down into the chicane for the very first time, but really clean start from all of the GTO field.
GTPs are just starting to get on to the Mulsanne straight. Toko Hisada down in 8th position. Got a little bit loose coming onto the straightaway. That's going to give an opportunity to Matthias Hovdahl. And just up ahead of them, a nice battle between Angela Pisto and Matthew Redford for the 4th position as well. Side by side, multiple places on the straightaway as they get going.
And look at how long this straightaway is. It is full throttle for a long time. Get the cappuccino machine out. You got time to make one.
Absolutely, and you got to be careful on this straightaway. You don't want to cause too many incidents. We see Topi Cortiniemi and Hugh Haycox swapping positions, and 3 wide with who is that on the outside? That's Timothy Reid, who's going to try and make it 3 wide on the outside on the apron of this country road, trying to make it work.
I'm not surprised, and actually the GTOs are going 4 wide with Doug Cloud, Arturas Kundelis way back here. It's just a bump draft train back for 4th and 5th place in the GTOs. These cars are all packed together doing 180 miles an hour.
Welcome to the Daytona 500 of the Camel GT series. Here we are screaming down the road at 185 miles an hour. Topi Cortiniemi retains the lead over Hugh Haycox after the straightaway. I'll go on to the next straight before Indianapolis, but look at this train starting to line up single file. They're all tucked in behind Doug Cloud, but they have a 4-second gap up to Ian Haycox, Javier Del Olmo, and Caradine Boafia, who are in a 3-car train in the lead of the pack, just heading off your screen right now.
Well, yeah, it's lined up 2 by 2. Like you said, like a Daytona 500 start here. Pretty impressive. All these Audis going down the Mulsanne hard on the brakes to one of the slowest corners on the racetrack. And look at this. All of these competitors giving each other great amounts of respect and room.
Yeah, that'll start to bleed away as we get to the final couple of laps of this race. Just a reminder, it is a lap-driven race. Toko Hisada has had a problem. He's quite slow on the inside of the track, so unfortunately for him, a little bit of a mistake through Indianapolis sends him to the back of the pack. Javier Del Olmo takes over the lead from Caradine Boafia as they go into Indianapolis, so a nice move into the lead for Del Olmo. Expect Javier Del Olmo and Ian Haycox to do their best to just hang on to Caradine. Caradine's going to have the most strength when they come through the Porsche curves. But speaking of the Porsche curves, wow, actually this is through the Indianapolis section. This battle for 4th position is absolutely insane in the GTOs.
Adam, I love it. It's 4th through 15th place here, all separated by a 1/4 of a second per car. Doug Cloud is in the mix, Arturas Kundelis, Zelinskis, Marty Oli, all of these names are battling it out, and it is a giant draft train.
So Hugh Haycox leads the first lap of this race over Topi Cortiniemi by about 0.7 of a second. That gap should evaporate when they get onto the Mulsanne straight. These GTOs just hanging on to each other at this point. It's a long race, and this is the first lap. These drivers, quite frankly, this has been one of the most calm starts to a Camel GT race I think I've ever seen it, Joey.
Well, just wait till the GTPs catch the GTO field here in a handful of laps, because when you got 4 wide with GTOs, I'm not sure where the GTPs think they're going to go.
And who's that diving into the pits? One
Doug
of our
Cloud.
GTO drivers, Doug Cloud, I don't think he took enough fuel for the race, so he's going to dive into the pits, and maybe he doesn't think anyone can make it to the end. So he's going to dive into the pits and take fuel on this first lap, but he's going to lose the draft train.
Yeah, and Adam, the only other thing I can think of is if you forgot to switch to your race setup and you're out there on the qualifying setup and you don't have enough fuel, unfortunately, you have to come in that situation.
P5 and the GTPs starting to heat up down the Mulsanne straight, as well as P2. Alex Ott and Topi Kortaniemi up ahead. And this is the battle for fifth between Antti Lepisto, Arno Iamaki, and Matthias Hovdal, as well as Ove Trangrade, Matthew Redford, Kimmo Viljakainen, and Aitor Sintes Galindo. So there's quite a few drivers.
Well, we've been focusing on this GTO field, but look at this. The GTPs are stacked just as close together throughout, really, the top 10. And I'm seeing that Hugh Haycox usually runs away with this, but you're right. Topi Kortaniemi and Alex Ott are just hanging on the back of Hugh.
I can report that Cam Porter got a slowdown going on to the Mulsanne, so he's now dropped down to 14th position and out of the group. This is Cam Porter on the back of this group with Carlos Fonseca, and now that's Jack David Spickett battling with Daniel Rapetto for the 10th position just up ahead.
Adam, I love watching these Audis. It's like watching like a refrigerator hovercraft go down the straightaway. They're these giant blocks of air, and they're going nearly 190 miles an hour. They're producing these giant slipstream effects, and this is your lead battle. Boafia, Del Olmo, and Ian Haycox, they've been a group of three that have really broken away from the rest of the GTO field.
Notice that Ian Haycox is not battling like Boafia and Del Olmo is. I believe he's trying to just save a little bit of fuel. Maybe he underfueled it just a tiny bit and just taking advantage of the draft of the cars ahead and just hanging on to the back. It's interesting things to notice for these drivers. There's a nice battle still going on for fifth position in the GTPs and a nice battle for fourth position in the GTOs here with Arturas Kundalis leading the pack over Arimas Zelinskis and Jamie Hamill-Smith as well. And here is that battle for fifth at the GTPs with Antti Lepisto, Hovdal, Viljakainen, Ove Trangrade, Matthew Redford, Aitor Sintes Galindo, I'll just keep going down the list. It's down to 13th.
Yeah, you mentioned it. It's just a train of GTP cars as they work their way through this final chicane here. And it's so important not to jump the curbs too much because, one, it can upset the car, and then two, if you jump them too much, you can actually get a slowdown penalty.
Alex Ott with the fastest lap. That's pretty impressive from the third position in the GTPs. So he's now part of that lead battle in the GTP cars. So interesting thing to note for Ott. Very much in the draft gives you the fastest time. But this battle for fifth will definitely start to spice up a little bit when they get onto the front straightaway. But a battle for the lead of the GTOs side by side between Del Olmo and Boafia through the Porsche curves.
I don't think this is going to be going away anytime soon. Del Olmo taking it back from Boafia, and like you mentioned, Ian Haycox just hanging out there in the third place position. And we're looking at Antti Lepisto on screen heading out onto the Mulsanne, leading this pack of GTP cars, Hovdal and Viljakainen right behind.
Absolutely. So it's going to start to get a little bit of the draft going on. Hovdal with a great draft up to the back of Lepisto. The question is he going to make the move? Oh, yeah, definitely. He slings outside to make the move, and now they're making an even bigger hole in the air for Viljakainen and Ove Trangrade tucked in behind. Ove Trangrade looking to make a move on Viljakainen, jumps into the draft of the two cars who are single file up ahead. That's Matthew Redford on the back of Viljakainen now as Trangrade starts to go by, but the two GTPs up ahead go side by side again, start punching even more of a hole in the air.
Well, and we're seeing really a lot of back and forth, but look at these cars, third, fourth, and fifth. Now they've got a huge head of steam, NASCAR style. They're going to try to overtake Antti Lepisto as well and make it all 3-for-1, 3 wide going into the brake zone.
Oh, and contact between Lepisto and I believe that was Kimmo Viljakainen. So unfortunately, Viljakainen going around a little bit, and Lepisto manages to keep going, but 3-1 did not go that time around. But here's the lead. Hugh Haycox with Topi Kortaniemi side by side.
And that was quite an incident. Like you said, Topi going for the lead around Hugh Haycox, and Hugh immediately back in the draft. Look at how he's got the car trimmed out, placing it to the left side. Gonna go back around Topi and claim the lead spot again. But look at this, Topi's hanging tough.
Just want to report that Javier Del Olmo is bump drafting Caradine Boafia down the straightaway, so those two not interested in battling each other at this exact point in the race. But man, the lead of the GTPs is definitely heating up. Topi Kortaniemi wants to hang on to the lead going into the Porsche curves. I think Topi thinks that he could break away from Hugh and Alex through the Porsche curves, but we haven't seen evidence to produce that. And Hugh Haycox, our current championship leader, is hanging on to the back of Topi right now.
We got to remember, when Hugh Haycox has started this championship, he has just been out front dominating. And I know that Courtney is one of the fastest racers here on iRacing, and we definitely have a race on our hands. And don't count out that number 12 in third place. Alex Ott is very much in the mix.
Absolutely, Alex Ott very much in the mix for these drivers, and starting another lap here. Oh, and we've had a wreck in the GTOs. Philip Savoy going off in Mulsanne corner. This was in a pack of 5 that were all basically 5 wide going into the corner. So similar to the GTPs, when the patience runs out and people decide to go side by side through that corner, doesn't seem to work out very well for him.
Yeah, and I see Savoy still on track and going, and this GTO pack, we were covering it very early in the race, and it's down to about 6 or 7 cars, but there's still 2 and 3 wide every straightaway.
Well, not just every straightaway, there's still 2 and 3 wide almost every corner here. This is the battle for fourth position. Now it's Jamie Hamill-Smith in the lead. Arturas Kundalis, Arimas Zelinskas, and Marty Ollie, as well as Jack David Spickett. Philip Savoy has actually managed to claw back to the back with this pack as well. And it's side-by-side for the lead in the GTPs as well. Topi Kortanemi and Hugh Haycox side-by-side right now.
Yeah, and I actually want to watch this a little bit right here, because Hugh Haycox has a trimmed out car. It seems like whenever Topi's able to get up alongside him in the draft, he was able to just hang out there right with them, and then it's a duel going into the braking zone.
What's interesting is, like you said, the 2 of them running side by side, not the most fuel efficient and definitely not the fastest. They're bringing Alex Ott back into the picture here by battling this hard. But, you know, with Hugh being as dominant as he is, Topi's trying to give Hugh a run for his money, doing a little bit of side drafting here on Hugh Haycox. And look at that. Hugh's going to give it up and let Topi take the corner.
I love these moments in racing where they're just side by side for so long down the Mulsanne. You got to think there's a lot of hand gesturing going on.
And look at this. Look at this back here. This is the battle for the 6th position between Redford, Trangarade, Sintas Galindo, Humphrey. All of them trying to hang on to the back of this pack. Wow, that was very, very loose there for Redford at the front of this pack.
Nothing is really changing back in the GTOs. It's still a battle between Del Olmo and Boafia out front, and Ian Haycox just kind of hanging on to 3rd place. And like we're seeing, here's Jack David Spickett working his way up into the 7th place position, but it really is a battle between Hamill-Smith in 4th place all the way back down to Philip Savoy in 9th.
Absolutely. So the draft pack's continuing to run here as we are on lap 4 for these GTOs, starting lap 4 for the GTOs, and just about to finish lap 4 for the GTPs. Now, Joey, we haven't talked about this yet, but we are almost getting to the point where the GTPs are going to start to catch the GTOs, and they're probably only going to get to do this once over the course of this race. This likely will determine the battles in the GTPs.
It very well could, and I think you're right. You know, these GTP cars are coming through final start finish right now, and I'm looking at the back of the GTO field, and they're already on the Mulsanne, so probably only one time through the traffic. And Adam, I think it depends on where on track they catch it, because if they catch him on the Mulsanne, not so big of a deal, but if you catch him through these tighter technical sections of the last quarter of the track, you could lose a ton of time.
Absolutely. So we're riding on board now with, I believe this is Laust Olsen. And he's in a battle with a couple of, this is Alex Ott actually in 3rd position. We're now riding on board with Laust Olsen as he starts lap 5 in his GTP. Here is the pucker cam from Laust Olsen. He is in a pack, believe it or not. He's got quite a few drivers behind him. Timothy Vaughn, Kimmo Viliakainen, and Martin Kraytrick tucked in behind him that he's trying to hold off at the moment. And there's the pucker cam in full effect, just trying to hang on to these positions. Hard to do at a draft track like this.
Well, and if we stay with them right here, we're going to see Laus really get hung out to dry going on to the Mulsanne, meaning he doesn't have anybody in front of him. That car in front is just a little bit too far, and he's going to be the one punching the hole in the air. So you're right, we're going to see Timothy Vaughn and Kimmo Viliakainen really suck up in the draft.
So Laust Olsen now racing forward, but definitely watching his mirrors. You can see him looking at his mirrors there, trying to see where the other cars are behind him to make sure that he can hold them off at this point. He did manage to. Oh, he's actually side by side with Timothy Vaughn right now. Laust and Timothy side by side down the Mulsanne Straight.
And I want to report Ian Haycox to the lead in GTO right now. He got by both Del Olmo and Buafia somewhere this lap. Ian Haycox currently leading the race.
Yeah, Ian Haycox actually had a really good first sector last lap, I noticed. And that actually allowed him to claw back to the back of Buafia and Del Olmo. The two of them lost a little bit of time battling with one another, and Haycox, who was a second and a half behind, was able to get himself back into position and take over the lead. So Ian Haycox leads this race in the GTOs as they come through the final couple of chicanes and start lap 5.
I'm loving seeing this number 9 car out front. He's always a consistent pace runner, but seeing him in the lead is fantastic.
Ian Haycox, he hasn't had a win in quite a while. He hasn't, quite frankly, been in contention for a win in quite a while. This could be his best opportunity, and so this is a good chance for him to try and take that away. Just to note, Hugh Haycox has 1 full second over Alex Ott, who passed Topi Korteniemi. The two of them have been battling a little bit. If they don't work together, it's likely that they will lose Hugh Haycox, which would put him in a position for yet another win this season.
And I don't think that's what the competitors want to see when it comes to the points championship. Hugh Haycox has been so dominant out front, and here we go. We got our 3 GTO cars lined up down the Mulsanne. We're going to see if they do the bump draft game or if they decide to slingshot.
Yeah, this will be interesting. I don't think that Javier is going to make the pass on Ian, but Kiradine has been proving to be someone who definitely doesn't want to play conservative at the moment. Reminder that Ian Haycox last year, he was in a motorcycle accident with a truck or a lorry that he lost his leg, unfortunately, but managed to get himself a rig that was able to accommodate that, and he is now racing with hand controls for the throttle and braking with the left foot. And so a great drive from Ian Haycox hanging on to the lead of this thing.
I think that makes it even more impressive what he's doing out there. And we're seeing quite a bit of bump drafting throughout the GTO field. And looks like we're going to ride on board with a few different. Here's Cam Porter also making more bump drafting. I don't think we're going to see an Audi that's not tucked up under another rear wing.
Absolutely. The Audis are quite separated at this point in the race, which is a little bit of a surprise, but there's been a lot of battling going on. So Cam Porter now trying to make a little bit of bump drafting work, tucked in behind Mark Ole. Carlos Fonseca just a little bit behind them, but you could see Cam just trying to push Mark forward. He gives Mark some room into the braking zone for the Mulsanne chicane, and it looks like Ian Haycox has lost the lead of the race to Kiradine Buafia. And I believe he might have had a little bit of contact, actually, because he's quite a bit behind as they go into Indianapolis.
Well, and Adam, just watching the ebb and flow of this race, I really do feel like Del Olmo and Buafia have pace, and Ian Haycox has done a fantastic job of being able to hang in there and capitalize when he needs to. So we'll see if he keeps up that same strategy of just waiting, hanging out in third place, and then when the time is right, strike on it.
Now here's an interesting story. Hugh Haycox, those of you who have been watching the Chiming Tree, Hugh Haycox has a 1.4 second lead over Topi Korteniemi and Alex Ott. If he's able to pull that out to 1.5 to 1.8 seconds, Joey, I think that Topi and Alex are going to lose the draft.
Well, and I want to keep our cameras here on the GTP leaders because, like you mentioned, it's important for Hugh Haycox to do that. But do you see what I'm seeing? We're going through the GTO field.
Oh, that was very close between Topi Korteniemi and Alex, and that was Jim McGill, as Alex Ott goes by Jim McGill now. But our leaders of the GTPs, yes, they are catching the GTOs, and Hugh Haycox is going to be catching up to Thomas Sibis through the Porsche curves. This could bring Hugh back to Topi and Alex.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, it all matters on where you catch these GTO cars. If you catch them in a bad spot, seconds could be evaporated out of your lead. As you see, Hugh Haycox definitely got held up by that GTO, and all of a sudden we've got a race on our hands again.
The gap back down to 1.2 seconds, just the just the edge of effective draft there. You still get a light draft out to 1.5. But Hugh Haycock's coming through the final chicane, trying to extend that gap, trying to stretch that lead over Topi Kortaniemi. Alex Ott now 1 second behind Topi. So these drivers are going to be brought together, and they're actually going to catch the GTOs through the first sector. This could hold up Hugh Haycock's as well.
And they're going to be catching the thick of the GTO field here coming up next. That pack that we were covering of so many GTO cars, that's what Hugh Haycock is seeing out the front of his windshield. But honestly, Adam, he might be catching them just at the beginning of the Mulsanne. It might work out for our leader.
I don't know if that's actually better, Joey. This could be interesting because if those drivers get side by side in the GTOs, they're going to get into a place where they might actually end up blocking Hugh, but Hugh able to get past Mark Ole, Cam Porter, and Carlos Fonseca for that battle of three, and now he's got half a straight up to Marty Ollie in the start of the next pack. This is the battle for the lead in the GTOs with Caroline Boafia, Javier Del Olmo, and Ian Haycock, with Boafia and Del Olmo side by side yet again.
And our GTP leader is through the first chicane. GTO's going through the second chicane. I know we aren't racing them, but we'll see how quickly those GTP cars close. And once again, Ian Haycock's just hanging out there in the third spot while Boafia and Del Olmo battle it out on the straightaway. Who can push more air with that flat front end?
Absolutely, and it looks like it's going to be Boafia who takes the lead. Ian Haycock's able to hang with them still, so this three-car battle for the lead of the GTOs, and it looks like Topi Kortaniemi got held up, I believe. He's now 2 seconds behind Hugh Haycock. Hugh Haycock is now catching up to the four-car battle for fourth position in the GTOs, and this is going to get, well, look at this. This is Topi getting extremely held up with this GTO battle here, and Hugh Haycock's just up ahead is trying to snake his way through. He's going to take to the apron to go by.
Hugh Haycock was able to get by, but here comes Topi and Alex Otten. It's always confusing. Is there one? Is there two? How many GTP cars are coming through?
Absolutely. So Alex Ott trying to streak his way forward towards Topi Kortaniemi, and Topi's getting held up significantly into Indianapolis, and Alex Ott's going to be in the middle of this as well. So these two drivers losing multiple seconds, as you said, Joey, to this GTO battle.
I want to give a shout out, though. Alex Ott being very respectful. He could have dove it down the inside of some of these GTO cars, but he realizes they're in a race of their own. There's no need to ruin somebody else's race.
Caroline Boafia looking like he might be having a little bit of connection problems. This could be heartbreaking for him, but in a draft race, it's also heartbreaking for the driver who's behind you because they lose that draft.
Well, and on that topic, Adam, Boafia's been blinking pretty much all race. I'm not sure if it's a consistent problem that he's had, but it's definitely something to watch out for.
Oh, and Mark Ole makes contact with Matthew Redford, and Ove Trangarade makes contact with Heitor Sentes Galindo. Lots of cars off sideways through the Porsche curves.
We'll have to see exactly what started that, because you're right, GTP and GTO intermixing through this lap, and things got narrow real fast.
Absolutely. Caroline Boafia almost ran to the back of Hugh Haycock almost ran to the back of Caroline Boafia because Boafia was gone for about a second and a half. So that's an interesting update from our leader in the GTPs as he goes past our leader in the GTOs. He goes off track to try and make the pass. The two didn't communicate well. Javier and Hugh almost ran into each other.
Yeah, this is the GTO leaders, and here comes Alex Ott. He's also trying to get through, and actually looks like Boafia pulls off track. I'm not sure if he had a slowdown or if he realizes he's got a poor connection.
But if that's the case, then that releases Javier Del Olmo and Ian Haycock. Ian Haycock is 2 seconds behind Del Olmo. That's breaking the draft for him. So Ian Haycock is going to have to work hard to try and make up that time.
You're right. Maybe he can get the help of just a sniff of some of these GTP car drafts, but it's going to take something to catch back up to Del Olmo.
So most of the draft trains in the GTOs have been broken at this point. We still have one in the GTPs, starting with 8th place Aaron Humphreys, going back to 12th place Togo Hisada. Those 5 GTPs are still in a train, and they're catching up to the thick of the GTO traffic on the straightaway of Mulsanne.
I've really been impressed that these two classes have played nicely, especially with how much side-by-side drafting we've seen down the Mulsanne. And the GTO cars are still 2x2 back with Kundalez, Zelinskis, Spickett, Jamie Hamill-Smith, and look at this mess.
Absolutely. These are the two big groups of GTVs and GTOs coming to the same place and into the braking zone for Indianapolis. Where are they going to go? They're going to try to make it 5 wide as they go down the straightaway side by side. They go. Oh, my goodness.
They're still 4 wide. This is Fabian Jungbluth trying to scoot his way through with Togo Hisada, Ardo Iamaki. Everybody's got to get hard on the brakes here. Everybody cooperates, and looks like we still got 6 GTP cars followed by 6 GTO cars.
Somehow, none of them decided to stop battling, none of them agreed on where to go, and yet everyone made it through just fine. And each of the battles still continues with just as many cars as we had before. The battle for the 8th position in the GTPs and the battle for the 4th position in the GTOs.
Well, I'm not going to blame them, but I think the drivers are probably having the same reaction you are. Is how did that happen, and how is it still clean?
How are we not dead right now? It's 3 wide going into Indianapolis, and the GTOs, a little bit of contact between Kundalis and Marty Ollie as they tried to make it through their 3 wide. Nobody wrecked, just a little bit of contact between those drivers.
Well, Lepisto's making his way through this GTO scrum here. Zelinskis back in 9th place, all the way up to Jamie Hamill-Smith there in P4 and GTO. This is still a scrum. It looks like a I-95, I-5, wherever you are in the country, it is rush hour.
Interesting to note, Hugh Haycox, who had that 4-second lead over Topi Kortaniemi, he's been free and clear, and so has Topi for the last couple laps, but Topi's made up 1 second. So Topi Kortaniemi 3 seconds behind Hugh Haycox right now, as they're going to be starting. They're on lap 9. Matthias Hovdal, though, with the fastest lap.
This race has worked its way through rather quickly. Like you said, already on lap 9, and GTP cars still making their way through GTO cars. It's not over yet as we see Laust Olsen making his way through this heavy traffic.
Absolutely. Taking a look at Philip Savoy, who's still hanging on to the middle of this pack somehow after getting sent off through the Mulsanne corner. That's Kimmo Villiakainen, who's making his way through right now. And yeah, that number 10 machine of Arturus Kundalis, doing a good job of hanging on to the 6th position at the moment.
This battle now. Now, to cover this, guys, this is 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th place, all in GTO on your screen. 3 laps to go for these cars.
We've had a wreck between Arlo Iamaki and Javier Del Omo, our leader in the who was our leader in the GTOs.
Yes, that's definitely a game changer, because that puts Ian Haycox back out front, and I'm looking at exactly what happens, and oh no, Javier Del Omo was an innocent bystander. Iamaki spun in front of him and collected our GTO leader.
So now at this point, Ian Haycox and Caradine Buafia are our leaders, free and clear of Javier Del Omo by 4 seconds. Bad luck strikes again. Here is Jamie Hamill-Smith trying to make the pass on Jack David Spickett for the 4th position, but we should go to the lead of the GTOs because Ian Haycox and Caradine Buafia are side by side, and it's just the 2 of them at this point. Caradine is going to try and do his best to break free of Ian Haycox.
Well, you mentioned it, side by side for the lead in GTO. Ian Haycox now tucks back into the slipstream, looking at 4th place with Jamie Hamill-Smith, Jack Spickett right behind him, Philip Savoy taking a look, and we're going to go 3 wide down the Mulsanne here. Arturus Kundalis, and we got GTP cars closing quickly behind as well.
Seamus Power trying to find his way by. He can't do so. Marty Ollie and Javier Mascara also trying to get in as well. Look at this. 3 wide they go. It's almost going to be 4 wide. Who's going to give as they come to the braking zone for Mulsanne? It looks like it's going to be Jack David Spickett who gives a little bit of room. That's Arturus Kundalis on the inside of Jamie Hamill-Smith as they go through the corner. Seamus Power, Javier Mascara trying to sort out their own battle for 18th position. It's going to be single file for a little bit. This should let them go by.
Now, with how much drafting we've seen, you see the GTP cars be able to sneak their way through now. Really been impressed with the number 30, Jamie Hamill-Smith out there. He's consistently been in this 4th place, leading the pack.
Absolutely, and he's managed to hang on to that lead, but he continues to get challenged now by Jack David Spickett up the inside of Indianapolis. Here we go, and it's going to be Jack David Spickett maintaining that fourth place in this group. They continue to battle. Look at this. That's inside move from Jamie Hamill-Smith trying to make that move on Jack David Spickett to get the position back. Can't quite do so.
I just can't believe that these cars have been racing for so long and they're still only separated by pieces of paper going down the straightaway. See a GTP car trying to make his way through here as we're coming up to the Porsche curves. This is another narrow section of the racetrack if this GTP car doesn't get through.
That's Clayton McLeod trying to navigate his way through this group, and he's now stuck in the middle of them. He's going to have nowhere to go because the GTOs need to take up all the track in order to make their way through this corner. Now, he might be able to go around the outside here, but he decides better of it. He's going to stay in line, and he's going to separate Koundalis a little bit from Spickett and Hamill-Smith.
And it's a tricky little accordion that both of the drivers have to deal with. That they make their...
Oh!
And a little bit of contact there. Jamie Hamill-Smith is going to go around in front of the field. He definitely got some help from Koundalis, but it all started being pushed a little bit wide from that GTP car coming.
That was actually some help from Jack David Spickett, unfortunately, just getting into the back of Jamie Hamill-Smith, who went wide through the corner because Clayton McLeod took the apex away from him. But unfortunately, Jamie Hamill-Smith still parked. He's going to have to wait his turn. But also, interestingly enough, Caroline Buafia was able to take the Porsche cars very quickly. He's broken away from Ian Haycox into a 2-second lead. So now the lead of both of our classes is separated by over 2 seconds.
Well, you called it. It was Jack David Spickett that got into Jamie Hamill-Smith there. And you actually see the front end damage. Look at the front right fender and bumper. This 25 now has some aero deficiency.
That being said, there's a car ahead of him he can draft on, so it's entirely possible that it won't really come into effect. This is a nice side-by-side battle between Timo Toika and Aaron Humphrey for the 8th position, as they have been side-by-side for the entire Mulsanne straight. It's going to be Aaron Humphrey who breaks later and takes the inside of the corner. Timo Toika trying to do the over-under, but can't get the power down. He's going to give that position to Humphrey for the moment, but they have another draft straight to go before Indianapolis, where Timo could possibly make another move.
Well, and you see here, as long as he stays on screen, he'll stay in the slipstream here. Timo Toika going to be looking, probably making a move, down here to the outside, carry the momentum around through Indianapolis and take that position right on back.
And there's that speed. Can he get on the binders? Easily for Timo Toika. His GTPs look so beautiful going through Indianapolis. It's not even funny. Our GTO 4th place is once again 3 wide. These drivers continuing to battle with one another. And as Timo Toika continues to hold on to that 8th position in the GTPs.
Well, and I'm looking at our GTO leader here now. I know that Buafia has been having some connection issues, but
he's been gone for a while.
Yeah, I know. He's been gone for a little while, and I'm waiting for the disconnect to pop up because I don't see him on track right now, and that would promote Ian Haycox back to the lead.
Oh, it's 4 wide for the GTOs for 4th position. They're trying to make it work somehow. I have no idea. That was Jack David Spickett who was trying to make it work 4 wide, but this thinks better of it. These guys are they're on the final lap now. Hugh Haycox is going to be coming on to the final lap. He has started the final lap, so these GTO drivers will be starting their final lap shortly after they go through the Porsche curves.
Really impressive that these cars are still running and still in one piece. I know there's a little bit of damage throughout the GTO field, but they have put on a show.
Absolutely. So, very interestingly enough, Hugh Haycox with a 5.5 second lead over Topi Kortiniemi, going back to that battle for the 3rd position now, because Caroline Buafia has not returned. Ian Haycox now has a 3.5 second lead over Javier Del Olmo, possibly for the win of this race.
Yeah, and I'm going back and looking, and I think Buafia just had a connection problem because it wasn't an off, and we're still keeping the eye on this 4th place GTO battle because, like I said, I can't believe it's still 5 cars all separated by only about 1/10 of a second each.
Ian Haycox coming across the line to take the white flag. Ian will start his final lap with a 3 second lead over Javier Del Olmo, who has not been able to gain that time back. to Haycox ever since having that incident.
Well, and Del Olmo has similar front end damage on his car, so down these long straightaways, it is not helping him.
So here comes this draft pack. They will be in an epic battle on the Mulsanne in the final lap. I mean, these guys have tried to go 4 wide before. I wouldn't be surprised to see 5 wide from these drivers. But third position in the GTPs, heating up between Matthias Habdahl and Alex Ott as they're on the last sector of their race, is the battle for the third position. Matthias Habdahl has been trying to claw back his positions from the start of the race. He locks it up going through that corner there. Alex Ott trying to hang on to it.
Really good battle for the podium here in GTP. Time is running out. They're on their final lap. Only 1 or 2 more decent passing opportunities as you look at our leader, Hugh Haycox, going through the Porsche curves for the final time.
Yeah, it's going to be a hot minute before the rest of the GTOs come through, so we get time to look at Hugh Haycox as he is coming out of the final of the Porsche curves through the 4 chicanes and into the final set of chicanes here. Hugh Haycox has held off the battle from Topi Kortaniemi and Alex Ott, successfully comes through the final set of corners, and Hugh Haycox, with a good run out of the corner, is going to take the win here at the circuit 24 Hours of Le Mans. Here comes the battle for third position between Matthias Habdahl and Ott. Habdahl able to hang on to it.
Well, yeah, and as these GTP cars are coming through, Ian Haycox now has 5.5 seconds over Javier Del Olmo there in the GTO class. As long as Ian can keep it nice and clean through this final section, he should claim this win. And really the battle is for the final podium spot in GTO. They're 3 wide going down off of the Mulsanne right now.
Absolutely, 3 wide. They were into the Mulsanne corner. Jack David Spickett now in the back of this. It's a 5-car train from Marty Ollie, Philip Savoy, Arturas Kundelis, Arimas Zelinskis, and Jack David Spickett. That is Philip Savoy trying to make the move around the outside of Ollie.
Yeah, and like I said, this is the battle for the final podium spot. 3 wide, heading down into Indianapolis, 180 miles an hour in the dirt. Jack David Spickett way to the outside.
Marty Ollie started that straightaway in third position, finishes it in 6th. They're still side by side as they go through the corner. Oh, they've had a wreck! Oh no, that's Kundelis and Marty Ollie and Spickett who've gone around. It's now a 2-car battle.
Yeah, and we're going to jump back up. This is our leader, Ian Haycox. Hung out in the 3rd place position for the most part of this race. Played it smart behind Del Olmo and Boafia. Capitalized on traffic, capitalized on others' mistakes, and now he only has a couple more sets of curves. Dance it through the final set of chicanes, and Ian Haycox is going to see that checkered flag here at Circuit de la Sarthe.
We've always been impressed with Ian Haycock's speed, even before his accident, and ever since his accident, it's been truly impressive to see how his speed has improved, how his racecraft has improved, and his racecraft is going to get him a win today. Ian Haycock's going to come around the final corner and take the win here at the Circuit de 24 Hours de Mans. The battle for third position still close between Savoy and Arumas Zelinskis as they enter the final chicanes.
Yeah, and it's still on for that final podium spot. Looks like Philip Savoy is going to be able to hang on to it. Zelinskis is going to try to get the run out, and he actually hits him. Oh, and Zelinskis is going to take the final podium spot.
Oh, a mischief from Savoy means he drifts across the line. Such a shame coming out of the final corner, and that's why we never call it before they get there. A little bit of a frustrated moment there from the number 10 car of Arturas Kundelis, but Marty Ollie, after making his contact in this incident, he is going to come around the final corner with some engine damage and finish in the 9th spot. My goodness, Joey, what a race.
Yeah, and actually, I think Philip Savoy had to slow down. He cut the apex too much in that first chicane and had to give it all up before the checkered flag, and that's what cost him that podium.
So as our final drivers come around to finish this race, we are going to take a quick break here on the Global SimRacing Channel, but don't go anywhere. We'll have some interviews and some race results at the end of this, so don't go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss it. Welcome back to round 8 of the iRacing Camel GT series here at the Circuit de 24-Hour de Mans, and oh my goodness, was it a race today. It was a phenomenal draft race, and we had some interesting drivers today coming home in interesting positions. But something that wasn't super interesting, but could have been, is Hugh Haycox with the win over Topi Korteniemi. Matthias Hovdal came home in third, and Alex Ott, who was challenging for the win of this race, comes home in the 4th position. Timothy Reed rounding out the top 5, with Matthew Redford finishing in 6th, and Ove Trangarade climbing his way forward to finish in the 7th spot. And we have Timu Toika in 8th position, with Aaron Humphreys in 9th, and Fabian Jungbluth rounding out your top 10. Timothy Vaughn took 11th position, with Laust Olsen in 12th on the next screen. Then we have Martin Krejcik in the 13th position, and Antila Pisto in 14th. Toga Sada finishing off in the 15th spot, with Kimmo Viliakainen finishing in 16th position. Ardo Iamaki finishing in 17th, with Seamus Power in 18th position. Javier Mosquera in the 19th spot, with Clayton McLeod in 20th. Aitor Sentes Galindo was the last of your finishers in the GTPs, finishing in 21st.
And huge congratulations to Ian Haycox, winner in the GTO. I'm seeing the congratulations pour in through the chat. I actually think this is his first broadcast win, so huge shout out to the number 9 there. Javier Del Olmo coming in 2nd place there. Arismus Zelinskis finally claiming that last spot on the podium in his number 29 machine. Philip Savoy 4th place. Arturas Kundelis coming in 5th. Cam Porter there, 6th spot. Carlos Fonseca 7th. Marty Oli there in the 8th position. 9th, Jack David Spickett. Tomas Sibas there in 10th. Doug Cloud, Daniel Repetto, Jim McGill all on the lead lap. And then we get back to Mark Ole 1 lap down. And then Boafia, unfortunately with that internet problem, had the disconnect, and Jamie Hamel-Smith involved in a wreck in a few laps down.
And that's going to take us to our interviews, starting off with Ian Haycox. Ian, my goodness, we were impressed with your pace long before the accident, and ever since the accident. I mean, I think everyone's been rooting for you, but this win has got to feel good.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah, it feels really good. I mean, as you say, I got a little bit lucky with Javier's accident and Keridin's internet connection, but you know, I was there. I was hanging on for grim death. And managed to just keep it together. I'm really, really happy about it.
It seemed like the two ahead of you, Javier and Keridine, they were both very intent on battling with one another throughout the race. And you seemed to like to hang back a little bit more. There was a point where you fell off by about 1.5 seconds, but you were able to claw it back. What was your thought process, and what was your mentality going into this race, and how did that change over the course of the race today?
Well, I've been ill all day, and I wasn't actually going to do the race, so I was kind of like, I don't want to really push it. But I think there was a problem at the start, so I ended up 3rd behind Javier and Keridin, and thought, right, just settle in, don't do anything crazy. I'm not 100%, not feeling super great. And as the race went on, I started to really get into it, and the adrenaline starts going, you know, and I thought, I'll have a little push for the lead at one point. But I realised I just wasn't as quick as the other two by far, particularly the last sector. And so I thought, I'm just going to hang here, see what happens, wait till the traffic comes through, and you never know, get lucky. And I got lucky, so I'm pleased as punch, really happy, and I'm really happy for Hugh as well. I know we had a few issues early on, I think, but he pulled it off as well. So go Haycoxes.
Yeah, it was Haycox's on both of the positions.
Yeah.
But my goodness, Ian, over the course of this entire season, your pace, and last season as well, your pace has been continuously improving. You've been battling for top 5s, for podiums. What do you think has made the difference? Is it just getting used to the new setup? Is it a different way of mentality and driving? What's making the difference?
I think it's a little bit of everything as well. And I don't take it quite as serious as I did, I think, like a year or so ago. I'm here to have a bit more fun and not get quite so upset if things don't go to plan, and recently they've just always gone to plan, so that's made it more enjoyable. But I think I've changed my style a bit, so you know, I'm on the brakes and the throttle at the same time because I can, and it's just an adaptation really. And I know I'm not the quickest guy out there, but I'm certainly, like you say, top 5 most weeks. So I'm happy with that. I'm really happy.
Well, let me tell you, I think the whole Camel community is happy with the fact that you finally got home to take a win. Who made it possible for you today?
I think family. My partner Debbie has been really supportive, and yeah, of course, anyone that knows me, really, everyone's been really, really kind and caring. So it's been great. Yeah, thank you to everybody who knows me.
Well,
cheesy, but
well, yeah, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Ian, so
Thank
much for talking to us today. Congrats on the win, and we look forward to seeing you for the rest of the season.
Yep, and you. Thanks, guys, for such a great broadcast as well. See you next time.
That was
Hopefully.
Ian Haycox, who won the race today in the GTOs, talking to me. And now we have Joey, who's going to be talking to the other Haycox, Hugh Haycox, who won this race in the GTPs.
Yeah, well, we were talking to your virtual iRacing relative, Ian Haycox, who won GTO, and this is Hugh Haycox, winner of GTPs. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, now take us through the race a little bit. Now, I know you won by a little over 5.5 seconds, but that wasn't the story of the whole race. Really, for the first handful of laps, you were battling it out with Topi and I believe Alex Ott up there, swapping positions down the Mulsanne.
Yeah, it was quite intense. Topi was battling really quite hard, which I thought was, it wasn't necessarily worth it because of the power of the slipstream. But I knew I was quite a bit quicker in the last sector, and I also knew my setup just got quicker and quicker. So I saw the gap create itself and just absolutely pushed for the life of me, and managed to get a decent gap, which was lucky.
Well, now the other variable that always introduces itself in Camel is the other class. Now, I noticed you were able to stretch it out to maybe a second or a second and a half right before you hit those GTO cars, and you were able to scoot through traffic very efficiently, and that's really when you were able to stretch your lead, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I got kind of bad traffic for the first few cars, but I think for most of them I got pretty lucky. But yeah, everyone was really well behaved. I mean, it's hard to misbehave at this track. It's kind of made for multi-class. But yeah, congrats to all the GTOs for making it to the end and not getting in my way. Thank you very much.
Well, you say well behaved, but if you go back and watch the broadcast, there was plenty of 4 wide down the Mulsanne. You just weren't involved in too much of it. You were way out front. But before I let you go, is there anybody that you want to say hi to, say thank you to?
Yeah, of course. Well, hi to Dad, of course, because 1-2, or 1-1 even. Sorry. And yeah, you guys for putting on a great show every week. Thank you.
Well, that was Hugh Haycox, winner in his number 3 machine of the GTP class.
And next up, we're going to be talking to Topi Kortaniemi, who finished in second position in the GTPs. A good battle with himself and Hugh Haycox, as well as Alex Ott. But Topi just coming up a little bit short today. A lot of traffic, a lot of battling. Talk to me about your race today.
It was fun. I don't know. Hugh was a lot faster than me in the first sector. He always pulled up plus 1 second gap. So I really had to push it to not lose the draft to the Mulsanne, and eventually I did. And for a moment I tried to work together with Alex, maybe like lift a little and leapfrog ahead and maybe catch you, but that didn't work out. So after that I just aimed for P2.
And so with the fact that this is very much a draft track, how was it out there with the that one time through the GTO traffic? How tough was it to navigate through that when they're going almost as fast as you guys down the straights?
I don't know. One time at Indianapolis I saw a pack of 4 GTOs going 2-3 wide, and I think I had to kind of like push myself through. I hope no one got hurt, but
yeah, definitely. And next week we head over to Suzuka, which is, I mean, obviously no tracks like Le Mans, but definitely a very different track, one that's more suited to the high downforce of the GTPs. What are your thoughts heading into that race?
finally something else than pack racing.
Absolutely.
a proper racetrack.
Absolutely. I think I know that there are quite a few competitors who are going to be feeling the same way as well. But Topi, is there anyone else you want to thank for your second position today in the GTPs?
My team, Pike from Beach Racing, usually for the paint for this race, and our partners, and you guys for the broadcast.
That was Topi Kortanimi, who finished P2 in the GTPs.
And now we have Alex Ott, finish of the P4 car in the GTP class. Now, Alex, I know you finished 4th, but you were mixing it up with the leaders the first half of the race, and just take us through the race in your eyes.
Hello guys, yeah, I was running in 3rd with you and Topi, and I thought, well, let's stay in 3rd and let's see what happens. So you know where 2 guys are fighting, sometimes the 3rd one goes away with it, but they kept it on track. And the second half of the race, my tires were getting really hot, so I didn't have the grip anymore to catch them.
Well, and talk to us a little bit about that, because car setup is so important in these races, and it's not just about racing the competitors the first couple races, but you also have to manage the GTO traffic and then not overheat your stuff. And it seemed like you had plenty of pace out there, but you're telling me it was just down to the tire degradation, you feel?
Yeah, the second half of the race, the car began to understeer quite a bit, and some corners, some slow corners where you need the grip to throttle out fast. I only had wheel spin, so it was very difficult to keep the pace, and that cost me the P3 at the end.
Well, and looking forward to Suzuka, obviously a very different style of racetrack. How's your confidence going in there? Are we going to see you up on the podium there?
Well, I hope so. I like high downforce track, like Barcelona was pretty quick also. So yeah, let's see.
Awesome. And before I let you go, is there anybody that you want to say hi to?
To you guys, of course. The Camel GT guys, very nice guys to race with. So thank you guys.
That is Alex Ott, driver of the number 12, finishing 4th in the GTP class. And I believe we have one more final interview. I believe we got Cam Porter standing by with Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have a quick word with Cam Porter here, who finished 6th in the GTOs. Pretty good morning for you in both series that you run, Cam. This one ended up being a little bit of a different race, though.
Yeah, I was, speaking of the earlier race, I was the lowest rated driver in both the Lotus 49 race and this race today. So I'm thrilled to get a 6th place. You know, at the beginning, early on, I got to slow down going through the Dunlop chicane. So I dropped off that lead group, unfortunately, and I just could not get caught back up despite trying to work with Marcolay. Yeah, just that gap was like 5 to 6 seconds for the rest of the race. I just could not close in.
Yeah, absolutely. But that being said, taking advantage of a little bit of the trouble of the drivers up ahead of you coming home in that 6th position, talk to me about how it is to do bump drafting in an Audi GTO, a car that's historically fairly nervous at high speeds.
Yeah, it sure is. I was bump drafting with Mark, of course, trying to get caught back up, but yeah, it's hard to keep it straight, and I was concerned about maybe getting a netcode issue, and I think some of the guys on the Discord server were nervous about that too, but I thought that's the only way we're going to get got back up is if I bump draft Mark. And unfortunately, the guys ahead probably were working together to try to catch the guys ahead of them, so just could not close that gap.
Well, Cam, next week we head to Suzuka, which is a very different track than this one, and a very challenging track for the Audis with their infamous understeer. Talk to me about your thoughts heading into that race.
Well, I think Suzuka is a great track. Really enjoyed that track, but I'm 100% confident I'm not going to make the race next week because I'm traveling this week, unfortunately. But we'll see you back again in 2 weeks, guys. Thanks for the great broadcast every week.
And thank you, Cam. Is there anyone else you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Just DSRC for putting on a great broadcast every week. Thanks, guys.
That's Cam Porter, who finished in 6th in the GTOs, and that's going to wrap up our broadcast today. We want to give a thanks to the many members of the VCRC Championship for bringing us on for another season of coverage here. And we want to give a thanks to our team today, Joey, Rob, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media and our website, as well as our merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel here as well, so you don't miss a moment here on the GSRC. Also want to give a huge shout out to June Lalonde, who provides the music for us here on GSRC as well. You can see their Bandcamp here below. Next race, as we said, is going to be Suzuka. That is Saturday, February 11th at 12 p.m. Eastern. Going to be an epic race for those drivers, as sure. Be sure to check out the other broadcasts that we have listed here on your screen as well. And we hope you've enjoyed joining us today as much as we've enjoyed bringing this racing to you. And we hope to see you back here again soon. But until next time, race clean, race hard,